our first speaker is Miss Suki.
Okay guys, so this is my first time doing this, so I'm just gonna pretend that it's like not me speaking, but you guys are all my friends and you really want to hear my story, okay? Okay, so this is how the story starts. Normally when you work in a bank you get a 2-week vacation, a nice stretch of vacation that you have to take off. And I just moved back to Hong Kong and I really wanted to get integrated and I was like, okay, what can I do? I'm gonna start playing sports again. I went and played netball. I paid like a good decent amount of money to play. And then after maybe, a third of a season, I tore my ACL. So this is my second ACL tear. My first one was in high school, and this is the second time. And I was like, okay, fine. I've already planned this trip to climb Kota Kinabalu. I'm going to do it anyways. I don't care. It didn't really hurt as much as the first time, so whatever. I asked the doctor, and he's like, as long as you don't use lateral movements, you should be okay. And I was like, you know what? I'm going to be climbing up and down mountains, so that should be okay. So the first thing, of course, there's going to be an airport misery. So we get to KL, and there's a connecting flight into KK, which is where the mountain is. And we missed our flight, which means we were actually there at the time, much in advance before the flight took off. But then what happened was we got to the desk maybe 5 minutes too late to quote-unquote check in. But if the airport is really that small, and I can see the plane right there, you don't really need that 45-minute window. You're just trying to rip me off, right? So I'm standing there, and I see the plane there, and it's leaving, and I have to pay for the next flight. Fine, whatever. The worst thing is the guy next to me, he was having a cigarette while they were delaying the plane. He goes out and has a cigarette because the plane has been delayed for so long. He comes back because they called their name. They called his name, and he wasn't there. They took his bag off the plane for him, even though they knew he had checked in, and they left without him. So I was like, I'll never fly Air Asia again. I'll never fly that airline again. So we get to Kota Kinabalu. Neither me nor my boyfriend kind of checked on weather situations. So I'm from Hong Kong. I'm a tropical fish. I absolutely hate being in the cold. We were walking up the mountain for 8 hours a day for 2.5 days. In the rain, in the cold, wet socks, just squishy, and the knee didn't help, right? But it was so cold that every bite of food I took, I was like, I just wish I was having hot water. The whole time I wish I was having hot water. There was no hot showers. There was no heat in the rooms, and that was told to us already before we went on the trip, but I just didn't know it was going to be that miserable. So after that was our first portion of the vacation. That was in Malaysia. And then we went to Indonesia. This part of the trip we didn't really plan. I kind of just relied on my friends, and I was like, you know what? They're going to be on an island, whatever. After a really hectic hike, it's going to be like beach weather, sunny, sand, whatever. We go to this island called Banda Aceh, which is off Indonesia. And I'm sorry if anybody's from there. In my mind, I named it Garbage Island because we went there, and I guess it's still quite, I guess it's not really that commercialized, but people there are a little bit behind, and it's a beautiful, beautiful place, but they still burn their garbage. So it's like you're on the beach, but then it's like, okay, well, there's a smell of burning plastic, and someone throws a slipper in there, someone throws a can in there, and I'm like, oh man, this is not good. It wasn't really helping, because it was actually not as relaxing as one would have thought. The worst part is, and this is the end of the story, but it's been pretty bad. It was a very bad holiday for me. We were trying to rent a motorcycle, and my boyfriend, who was with me the whole time, he's Italian. He's used to driving on a certain side of the road. And we rent a motorcycle, we drive around, and it's all fine and good, and one of our friends gets us lost, and he keeps on trying to lead us the right way, but making mistakes every single time. But he really insists on being the leader. And my boyfriend just got really pissed off. He's like, forget it. I'm not going to follow him anymore. Just because he rides in front doesn't mean I have to follow behind him. I'm just going to go. He makes a really sharp U-turn, comes down a mountain as a little girl, a 12-year-old girl, and her friend are on the Vespa coming up the mountain. My boyfriend comes to a complete stop. We run into her. Okay. We run into her foot. Okay, we run into her foot. And you know what? The whole time we were on that island, everybody had issues about speaking English. No one speaks English. They don't know what you mean. But once someone gets hurt, excuse me, I think you should pay her 10 euros. I'm like, whoa, where did that come from? And then of course a piece of the motorcycle breaks, and I'm Asian, so I'm like super cheap, and I'm thinking, oh my God, are they gonna try to rip us off? Because I'm from Asia, and I know how people can do that. And in the last 3 days, I was thinking, oh my God, how much are they gonna charge us for this motorcycle? So I actually got a stress-induced rash on my hands. No kidding. That's it, that's my story.